take take one. Hey, I'm back in the studio today to follow up with my tutorials using the Loomis method on drawing the figure this time. So I'm going to try to recapture the magic that caused my first Loomis tutorial on just how to construct a head. It went bananas on, well, it went viral for me. So we're here to cover Loomis in applying it to the figure. And it's a little more complicated, of course, since we do have the entire figure. We got arms and legs and angles and 3-point perspective and all sorts of stuff that you might need to use depending upon where you're looking at the form and the figure, whether it's in person or if it's in a picture. So we have a lot of things to figure out, but luckily Loomis developed a method and a system for figuring all of that out. And the first step in this is knowing the proportions and then getting the breakpoints and all the parts of the bodies in roughly the right location. And the system is built to where you can push and pull these guidelines. And it's definitely a series of guidelines that you can follow. So I'm going to draw out essentially the fundamentals of what you need to know and practice. And if you've gone into my website, look in the description of this video. I have a link there. It'll take you over to my website, and you can download the entire Loomis figure drawing for all it's worth. And it's a really good book. It's dense. It's got a lot of information, but I'm not going to cover everything in that book in this video. It's just really the rudimentary fundamentals that you need to practice and get good at before you really start trying to tackle the figure. And this is essentially the thing that I go through in my figure drawing class with my students. The first couple days we focus nothing on but on this stage right now, working with the structure and developing a mannequin, which is essentially a fancy word for a stick figure. So we're going to learn how to draw stick figures in a creative and expressive and a correct manner so that you can then apply the rest of the drawing on top of the mannequin. So let's get started. All right, so we have a white piece of paper here. Nothing fancy, just copier paper. I'm using my Prismacolor Kohl Erase Blue Animator's pencil, and I also have a Kohl Erase, looks like my student, this must have been one of my students' pencils from my animation class. So it's a red Kohl Erase Prismacolor pencil, and it's kind of nice to have two colors. And then when we do get to the point when we're starting to draw and put draw the figure, the information, the data of the figure onto the mannequin, I have my black pencil, so we can really go after all of the shading and the contrast and everything that's going to be needed. So with those three colors, we should be able to construct something. But right now, I'm just going to use the blue pencil to sketch out the structure. So real quick, it's pretty simple. It's a head to foot right there. Halfway point are the hips, and then in between I'm just going to section these things out evenly, roughly evenly, to be 8 heads tall. It can be 7.5 heads tall, whatever. It's just the breakdown of the figure. So, and we can definitely come in here and get our head right there, get that lobbed off oval, get our, so there's a head, we got another head, we got another head. All right, I'm just going to go down the way and block in all the heads. 8 heads tall. So it's pretty simple. Again, halfway is the hips right here, and typically the hips you can kind of create a kind of a cone shape right there. I'm going to put a little ellipse right there, and that's where the hips are going to be, right there. And we'll put a joint point right there. Right there is where the legs are going to come in and bend and move around. All right, about 1.5 heads is where the shoulders are going to be. Wide shoulders for men, narrower shoulders for women. And down here as well, wider hips for women. narrower hips for men. All right, about 3.5 heads is where your chest cavity is going to be. So I'm just going to draw that in there real quick. And I put a little arc on it to get that nice arcing action right through the rib cage. And I'm going to throw in the coat hanger right on the top. That's the is that the trapezius muscle? I think I should have paid attention in my anatomy classes. All right, so we're getting there. We're already getting some structure built. All right, about halfway, right in here between the arc of the chest cavity and down here, you're going to be. That's where your elbow break point is. All right, I'm going to put it about right there. Again, all of these points can be pushed and pulled because some people have longer torsos than others, some have longer legs than others. So all of these guidelines can be kind of tweaked out as you go. So, all right, so I'm going to go ahead and draw in the upper arms. All right, and then let's also down here, this is where the halfway, what is that? It's 8, 7, right between 6 and 7, we have where the knees will happen. All right, so we'll throw them in right there. There's the break points for the knees, and we'll throw in the upper thigh. All right, and we're going to come on down. A lot of times I don't draw rigid, stiff-looking sticks, right? You're always trying to throw a curve in it. The body has a lot of curves, and you can actually, like on this upper arm, I'm thinking of the outer edge of what the muscle will be to kind of give it this outer curve here, and we'll do a similar thing right here. The mitten for the hand is going to hit about mid-thigh. That might be a little low. If it is, we'll fix it, right? All right, bring it down, throw that mitten in. There's the mitten for the hand. Oop. There we go. Get them leveled out there. So we're getting, I'll go ahead and throw the spine in there as well. All right, and then we can kind of come in and build that next leg. Okay. All right, so we already have that figure using the Loomis method to construct that figure. All right, so I'm going to try to pull that, all these reference points. I'm going to just drag it on over. All right, oops, let's get the hips right there and then on the ground. And we'll try it from the opposite direction. So we're going to get that head. And again, remember, this is the same Loomis head as on the portrait thing, and I'll get that shape of the head right there. And then we're going to get that torso in here. So there we go. And we're going to throw the shoulder right there. And then I'm going to get, one thing you got to remember, especially when we get into applying this method onto an actual pose, there's going to be a rhythm through the body. And it's always that rhythm from the top of the head through the entire body down to whichever leg is bearing the weight. And typically there's a leg, or sometimes it's an evenly split. But if it's a dynamic pose, you're always going to have to find where that weight is being carried and delivered to the ground. So that's our biggest thing. So I'm going to try to get in here and get that spine right there. All right, and then I'm going to get the hip is going to be about right there. We'll get the, and that's kind of, this is that bikini area. You can also think of the butt's right in there. Actually, the butt's a little higher. So I'm actually just kind of blocking in some of the things. All right, get the knee. And there's that curve to the upper thigh, and then I'm going to curve it back the other way and get it down here to the leg, the foot. All right, so, and again, there might be the other one. We'll throw it back here. We'll just throw a little, you can see the second leg. And then let's get the elbows. All right, elbow is going to be happening here, and then the hand and the mitten right in here. And you can do the other end. There we go. So there again is essentially the Loomis method. You can play around with this. If it's not quite right, just keep tweaking it and get it to read right. So this is really what you do. And I spend at least 2 weeks. We do nothing but mannequins in class. It's just getting used to drawing this stick figure in the pose that's out in front of us when we have the models posing for us. And typically they're quick poses, 15 to 30-second poses. Gives the students a quick go at trying to get this mannequin sketched up and delivered to the paper in a quick manner. So it's also forcing the students not to get fussy. They can't get fussy in 15-30 seconds. You have to work quick and try to get the entire pose established before the model changes poses again. And it's an automatic thing. 15 seconds, it's like switch, boom, then they're into a new pose. Typically a standing pose in the warm-ups like that we typically do. And then there's one more. Let me try one more, and we'll just try to get it happening with the model, and we're going to throw this into 3D. All right, so it's a 3/4 view, and everything's going to be in kind of this shape. And working with a box is a good way to maybe get the initial structure built. All right, so, and I'm going to throw there's the hip. All right, so once you get established the correct 2-point perspective on the cube that's going to be the stuff, then we should be able to figure the rest of it out. Oops, we'll find the center line. There's the center line. I don't have the center line right. There it is. All right, so again, following that backbone, there's our hip's going to be right there. It's going to be lower because it's at an angle. We got these angles going. I'm going to actually, if I was actually doing it right, this whole cube, I need to actually put a whole cube down the whole way and then bend it. So actually the center line is going to be fairly horizontal. So let me fix that. There we go. All right, so, and then we'll throw the other cube right there. So I got cubes inside of cubes. It gets a little convoluted, but once you get to using this, you won't be thinking of it that much. So, all right, so we'll throw that knee in, throw that lower leg in, and then we'll get the the foot and the foot happens here as well. There we go. Break point. Again, eye line is level. Above eye line, all the angles shoot up. Everything below the angle shoots down like that. All right, so let's get that. We'll get that chest cavity in here. All right. Get that shoulder, get that arm, and we'll drop in the mitten. All right, I don't spend a lot of time worrying if this is 100% right, because you're pushing and pulling all of these guides. Oops, I got my chest cavity too high. Boy, I really screwed that one up too. There we go. All right, so this is really, I can tell I haven't taught my figure drawing class in a couple years. So, and that's typically not unusual. And it looks like maybe even the torso's too low, or the hips. So I might even bring those back up. All right, so anyway, this is all what you're going to be playing around with when we start applying this. This one sucks, God. All right, so we're going to be messing around with these mannequins to get a pose. So let me pause here and switch up things, and I'll get a new sheet of paper, and we'll apply this structure to an actual pose, or two. We'll see. Hang on. We're back, and I have this photograph of a young lady in a static pose. It's not quite as boring as the initial sketch I showed you using the structure, but we're going to use the structure on this, so it doesn't deviate too far from the structure. But you can see in this pose, She's got an angle to her upper body, so there's a rhythm through the body, and it flows right through from the top of her head through her torso down this leg. That's the leg that bears weight. So that's what we got to try to capture in this mannequin. And I'll try to do it fairly quick, as you know, as about as quick as you might want to do it in a figure drawing class. So, and I typically will, and it doesn't have to be the same height or size or anything. I'm just going to try. She's got really long legs, so I'm going to set her hips a little higher. They do have an angle like that. Let's get the head in here real quick. All right, if I can get it. All right, get that in there. She's kind of got an angle to her face. Get that. There we go. All right, so, and I'm going to go and try to get, I'm going to get her shoulders are about that wide. Okay, come through, get the hips right here, right there, and right there. I want to throw a pretty good curve to it. There's her knee, and we'll throw that leg down here. So this one is the key to the, I'm going to break beyond that a little ways. All right, so there's the flow. We got the flow through this figure right here. I'm going to throw the arc into her chest. All right, and then this hip's a little higher, and this foot is going to drop a little lower. So I'm going to go ahead and get that foot dropped in there real quick so I know where to go. The knees are roughly level, but maybe not quite. We'll throw that knee right there and pull it on up to that hip. All right, so we're getting a pretty good mannequin right now, right from the start. And then the elbow, actually the hands are going to come in right about where the belly button's going to be. So I'm just going to get the front plane of that hand drawn in there in position roughly, and the front plane of the other one happening right there. We do have foreshortening on this forearm right here, so that's a whole can of worms in itself. We'll deal with that later, but not in the mannequin tutorial. So we definitely have our coat hanger there, and we got the neck we'll build in. So that elbow is going to be about, it's going to be a little bit further out than the shoulder. So we'll just pull that down and pull this up, right like that. This shoulder's here. It's out just a little ways. There's a slide angle, and it comes in about right to there. So we'll throw that there and we'll pull it over. So right there is the mannequin that we can then start working with and building the rest of the form on. And that's really all you need. You need that structure to go forward with the rest of the drawing. Once you get this roughly in position, and I think I do, I got it pretty good. I definitely feel the weight coming through this leg, and if you notice right here, there's that. I'm trying to, with this bone here, I'm trying to catch that curve right there and right up here. So try to get the shape of the chest cavity in roughly that cubish shape right there. And this is enough to go on to the next stage. So practice this. I'm not going any further on this until you practice this for about a week. So work on the Loomis mannequins and do a range of different poses, and you'll see the strength and the growth in what you understand about the figure. You want me to do another one? All right, that we got a bonus feature. My first bonus feature in one of my tutorials. All right, let me get another sheet of paper, and let's get, I'll just take this down real quick. Let's see if we can get this guy. I got a guy this time. And don't worry, guys, on my YouTube tutorials, all my models will have clothes, so I won't scare the children. Yeah, we won't have any naked people in in my Loomis tutorials. All right, so look at this guy. This guy, he's the same way. He's kind of standing there. He's actually got a secondary rhythm too, but it's coming through. This is the leg that's carrying all the weight. This one doesn't. All right, and then he's even got kind of a, this isn't a good example of a secondary rhythm, but you got the different angles and things happening in, actually when I do some dancers and stuff, you'll see that secondary rhythm with the arms when they're in position. So, all right, let's do this real fast. All right, we're gonna get this guy, he's gonna come in, it's gonna come right down to the ground, right down there. There's that rhythm line. All right, hips are showing up in kind of an angle right here. All right, so we'll just drop that in. Throw that leg. This one's there. This one's going to come down. Get that knee. Come right here. Get that leg. Get that foot. I mean, there we go. There's the foot. And then we're going to throw this one out. The knees. This knee is higher, so it's going to be higher and a little beyond right there. And then we'll pull it out. Get that. And then get that foot. There we go. All right, and then, oh, he's kind of a, let's see here. His shoulders are this direction here. So actually, I don't want to get his shoulders too high to his, he's got a pretty long neck. So I'm going to get that, let's get that damn cube. All right, where's Mr. Cube? There's Mr. Cube. Boom, boom. All right, so now we can build that chest cavity, bring it up around. Get that big, he's got a huge shoulder there. The fist is going to come right in here, roughly. And the elbow is going to be about right there. Pull it over, and then this other one, his shoulder is right up here. He's definitely got the old coat hanger going on right there. I might even have to move his head up a little bit. His gaze is looking this direction, all right? And the elbow is about right there, so it's going to come in, come over, and there's the mitten. All right, so that real quickly is enough with the mannequin that I could go ahead here. I'll go ahead and build. I'm going to get him in here. Let's get that jaw right there. There we go. Boom, boom. Boom, boom, boom. And then there we go. I've got a mannequin. It's ready to rock and roll for the next stage of the drawing. So go ahead and definitely practice this. We'll deal with detail and stuff in another video. Right now, this is stage one, learning how to draw learning how to draw a proper stick figure. You never thought you'd be drawing stick figures for that. But this is actually the stage, the step that you need to kind of understand, because once this structure is correct, the rest of it falls right into place. And then you can look for the shadows, the shapes, and the form and modeling and everything. So, but this, you got to get this nailed first. So that's why I always spent 2 to 3 weeks working on that. All right. Hey, have fun with this. I know everybody is kind of pent up. Apparently there's pent up demand for drawing people with based on my Loomis portrait tutorial or primer that I did earlier that went bananas. And by the way, I really do appreciate all the views, all the subscriptions, all the likes, all the comments that I got with that video. It really, it's like, wow, people are wanting to learn. So I'm here to help. And hey, if you did get some value out of this tutorial, this one, give me a like and a subscribe. Check out my website, download the Loomis stuff, and we're going to learn how to draw and paint some figures. All right. Oh, and plus, there's more than just Loomis to work with, especially when we get into watercolor. So, all right. I'll see you next time in the next video.